Have you ever thought, how does a senior level professional handling elite client communicate? How do they differ from the basic average speakers, particularly in roles that involve negotiation or persuasion? What do they exhibit? Very strategic, composed, and confident communication. Their communication style is not just about vocabulary, but it includes a lot of things like tone, cadence, pauses, posture, and basically the overall executive presence. So today, I'm going to do a detailed sequenced analysis of their communication skill set, which you can also absolutely copy or replicate to go to that level. Number one, the tone of voice. It has to be authoritative but calm. You don't have to be aggressive. It carries a sense of control and depth. What are some of the warm undertones that you can talk about, that builds trust, maybe an emotional connection with the person who you're speaking to? The low to mid pitch, that signals kind of maturity, stability, and credibility. The next point would be very modulated. It avoids highs and lows. It creates a reassuring presence. All these points that you looked at, let's give it an example. Usually people say, you should not do this, and I don't agree with you. How do I make it more elite? How do I make it that executive level? I can say, I understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate the transparency. Let's explore a win-win pathway here. That is the way a person who's sorted in their communication and has that presence that would speak. The number two part would be the speed and cadence. Moderate to slow pace. Sometimes people feel that when they're speaking in English or when they have to sound confident, they just go about being very fast. Fast is not equivalent to fluent. You need to understand your speed has to be moderate. This signifies thoughtfulness and control. It allows the listener to absorb key points. Whatever you're speaking needs to be processed. Number two, there is an intentional rhythm. You have to use subtle changes in pace to emphasize key ideas. Whenever you're speaking, don't be monotonous about it. Hi everyone, I'm here for the meeting, I'm going to do this and blah blah. Boring. Then there's a very big problem with the basic speakers. They use a lot of like, technically, basically. Don't speak like that, maybe. Take an example. Maybe if I speak like a person who uses a lot of filler words, I'll say, so I was thinking that maybe we could go to the new cafe or something. Did you see how much of bluffing was there in that sentence? Right? I don't need all that okay. How do I make that better? I'll replace those us with pause. If I may, let's look at it from another perspective. What if we could improve your ROI without compromising on quality? I did not say blah, blah, blah. I did not. Don't speak like that. Okay. The third point is use of pauses. As I just mentioned, whenever you feel like saying etc., remove it. Put a beautiful pause, strategic silences, especially after asking a question or before delivering a key statement. Why do we use pauses? It is used to invite reflection. You're asking the person to think about what you just said. It projects a certain gravitas. For example, if I'm not using the pauses, then I'm going to be like, but I can say, before we make that decision, let's consider the long-term implications. The same sentence, I can be like, before we come to that decision, just let's think about it a little bit. What is this, what is this all the time? You don't need to. The moment your brain tells you to use some replace it with a beautiful pause. The fourth point, vocabulary and word choices. Professionals at this level, wherein we start calling them the elites of the industry, they use precise, high context vocabulary. Maybe let's look at a breakdown, In terms of business negotiations, a basic speaker would probably say, what are we offering or what makes this a good deal? Instead of that, just say, what's the value proposition? Okay, the next point could be a basic speaker says, how things work well together. Instead of that, tell me more about the synergies, right? Next is scalability. A lot of people don't use this word. People sometimes ask a question, can we make it bigger without problem? Tell me about the scalability or potential scalability, right? So I'll do one thing. I'll attach a PDF with similar phrases which the basic speakers are using and how you can replace it with some very smart phrases and make yourself sound a little more elite. All right. You know, when those really polished speakers are speaking, they do not target, to pull you down. They don't want to tell the other person how you are not very sufficient, how you are not sufficient or how you are not creative enough. They want to use a lot of confident phrases. They want to build that trust. That is why when you see a good communicator, you understand or you automatically just open up in front of them. They use a lot of phrases that are confident. So for example, this isn't a shot in the dark. It's a calculated move. Whenever a person is speaking with a lot of clarity in their head, when you go with your problem to a very senior level leader, they are not going to directly shut you down or probably not listen to your concerns. They use phrases like rest assured. We've delivered similar results. I understand your perspective. I believe in what you are saying. What we need to do is have a more solution-oriented approach. These sentences do not tell the person how he or she is maybe dumb or foolish or maybe impractical. That's not how they work. When somebody is speaking with calculated words and knows what's the purpose of all this speaking, they come out to be a confident speaker. Fifth point is your body language accompaniment. Whenever you're speaking, even though you asked about verbal communication, or maybe the session was only about verbal communication, we need to understand that the senior executives are deeply aware of how non-verbal cues support their words. To have a steady eye contact builds trust. When you're talking to your audience, have that steady eye contact. Don't be looking here, there, and everywhere. Controlled gestures. Emphasize points without exaggeration. Number 3, open posture conveys receptiveness. A lot of people who do not have a control on their words and overall communication sit like this and talk to their subordinates. That's not a good thing to do. You are intimidating them and you're already being defensive. You're telling them, I'm listening to you, but I'm not going to do anything about it. This shows defense. This shows that you're restricting yourself. And that's where the problem arises. Your body language needs to be in sync with the person that you're talking to. The next point is delivery. Their conversations have a certain structure. Number 1, they are goal-oriented. You have to begin with an outcome in mind. Why are you saying a certain statement? What's the goal you're looking at? Number 2, they're layered. They start broad, then drill down into details. Next is the sentences or structures are framed very diplomatically. You'll never see them very aggressive. You'll never see them very overwhelmed or emotional. So whatever I just said, let's give you an example. Maybe an average speaker says, we're going to look at some things like onboarding and maybe engagement stuff later. People think it might take too much time, but we'll just have to deal with that. Okay, this is very casual. If a good speaker speaks, what do we have to do? We have to be very clear with our purpose. Our goal is to improve client retention by 20% this year. And to get there, we're starting with a full review of the onboarding experience. Then we'll dig into ongoing engagement touch points. While some have raised concerns about the time investment, I see that as a great chance to refine our process and make it more efficient in the long run. Do you see the difference between the two sentences? We always have to keep it in our mind. Whenever we are talking, we have to be very clear. The next thing is cultural nuance. Now, wherever you are, whether you're in India or in America or some other nation, I'm not going to be particularly talking about this, but please understand there are cultural nuances. For example, in India, it is very important to be polite at all points of time. If you're too direct, they'll call you impolite. Okay, so you'd see a lot of please let me knows and with your permission. Similarly, there is a hierarchical respect. We use a lot of sirs and ma'ams. Now maybe that's changing a little, but still a long way to go. The next one is relationship first tone. Often begins with a bit of context or small talk to ease in. You know, you can't just walk into your manager and be like, we have a meeting at this time. You initially open the door and like, hi sir, how are you doing? Can we have a meeting, etc. The next important point is emotional intelligence and listening. Whenever a solid communicator is engaged in a conversation, they mirror the client's language subtly to build that rapport. When you're talking to them, if you are sitting up front, straight up, let's say, they'd be sitting the same way. They paraphrase concerns to show understanding, and also they use softeners. What are softeners? Words like, I understand, don't worry about it, I'm with you on that, rather than some blunt disagreement. Always have a closing strategy, my friends, always. All the senior professionals end decisively but collaboratively. Just two simple examples here. If I say, I guess we could maybe aim for Friday, but we'll see. Instead of this, if I say, shall we log this in by Friday? I am very sure that I'm doing this by Friday, right? Another example could be, I'm not really sure where we all stand on what's next. Better could be, would it be fair to say we are aligned on the next steps? You are asking, yet you are authoritative. Now, also look for the PDF that I'm attaching, because I'm going to give you a lot of important words that need to be removed. The casual, vague words, you have to remove them with precise alternatives. Instead of saying things like stuff, say deliverables, correct? Instead of saying maybe elements, say aspects. Instead of just going with something very overused like numerous, say things like significant, substantial, etc. So similar list I'm going to be adding in your PDF. Do give it a check. So after telling you all that of the analysis and everything that I went through and realized and figured out maybe, today I'm going to tell you 5 actionable high impact tricks to dramatically upgrade communication and impress instantly anyone that you want to. The first trick is the 3-second pause trick. That basically projects the power of silence. Before responding to a question or making a key point, pause for at least 2 to 3 seconds. What does it do? It shows you're thinking, not reacting. Number 2, it makes your words sound deliberate and intelligent. It's not like you just blurted out whatever. Number 3, gives you time to phrase things well. You're not in a rush. And how do you practice this one? Record yourself answering questions, forcing a 3-second pause before each answer, right? You must be noticing even I am making a lot of these mistakes, but I'm also a work under progress, right? Next is upgrade 5 everyday words. Whatever common words or lazy words you are using so far, replace them with smarter alternatives immediately and consistently every day, okay? For example, if you're saying things like think, say believe or assess. If you're saying things like want, you can say intend or aim to. If you're saying words like help, you say support or enable. Let's give you an example. Instead of, I think we need to try something new, you say, I believe it's time we explore a more effective strategy. The next thing is always speak in structures. All those really polished speakers rarely ramble. They speak in frameworks. There are 3 key points that I want you to remember. Please understand, you are going to break it down everything, okay? Let me break that down. You're paying attention to all these words. We can look at this from 2 angles. So every time I'm putting numbers in my sentence, your attention is coming back to me. The next one is, these kinds of breaking down basically gives you a more organized and confident approach. The next could be works in meetings and interviews also. All these things that I've just taught you, I'm going to break it down into, we can look at it in 2 angles. This is going to work in meetings, interviews, etc. How do you practice this one? You pick a topic and outline 2-3 bullet points before speaking about it. Mirror the same thing and match the language. Now, the next trick is also the same. Match the language of leaders. Notice how high-level professionals speak. Then mirror their words, pace, tone, pronunciation, everything. What does this do? This builds subconscious trust. In your mind, you know that I'm speaking like a solid person. Number 2, it makes you sound like one of them. If a senior executive always says we need to align the strategy with the larger vision, you can also say the same thing. Don't reply with, yeah, we should say something or we should do something like that. Say, absolutely. That kind of alignment will make our execution sharper. See? immediately better. Next, lastly, students, use power closers in every conversation. End your contributions with a confident, outcome-focused line, not a soft fade out. For example, you can say, let me know how you'd like to proceed. Number 2, you can say, does this align with your goals? Number 3, you can say, that's my take, open to your thoughts. Number 4, you can say, we can move forward with this if this resonates. Next, you can say, glad to take this further when convenient. Always remember, if you want to leave a lasting impression, make sure your closing is amazing. Please understand that this video you'll have to probably watch 2-3 times. Maybe a lot of you will feel she's only speaking in English, that's a problem. But there's an idea behind this. I want you to actively listen to good English, pay attention to each and every point, work on your communication skills, and no, I do not feel that communication is equal to spoken English. Not at all. But at the moment, we're all trying to learn and get better and improve our English. That's why I try to deliver this particular lecture only in English. Students, the PDF that I'm going to give you is going to be supremely important for all of you, because I'm also going to provide a 7-day high-impact communication practice plan for all of you. You need to try that out for 7 days. If you enjoy it, continue it for 21 days. And you know what? It takes 21 days to form a good habit. Also, if you enjoy watching the classes, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, share it with your friends, and let me know if you felt that there was something missing or if I need to work on anything else. Thanks a lot. God bless you. Catch you later.